Good morning. Our hand today is going to be Pocket Jacks. I am under the gun, technically low jack, and I'm trying something different. So, trying to do different batch of range. Probably will start to increase my VPIP. So right here, I just used low jack position, open raising. It's going to be a little bit wider than what I typically do. It is six-handed right now, but it's full ring game. Yes, I could tighten up because I'm under the gun, but again, full ring game. We get people filled in all the time, so I think jacks works just fine for a raise. Button calls. Now, Button's a loose passive player. I have him playing about 37%. On the button, he does exhibit positional awareness. His pre-flop raise is about 7%, so his 3-bet his 3-bet stat by position, it hasn't really 3-bet a whole lot on the button. So we need to pay attention to that. Pre-flop, his button called 2-bets 31%. All right, so I started with 37%, and then I started taking 7% off, but he hasn't 3-bet, so I kind of think he's probably 3-betting something pretty tight like Queens Plus, which gives us a little too much, a little too many hands, or too many hands in his calling range. So, that's at 29%. Maybe he has these suited queens as well. So that's 30%. We're about 1% off. I think this is probably okay. And it's possible. I mean, if you add in these and say he's only going to raise aces and kings, it gets us up to that 31%. So he's going to be fairly wide. He's the only one that calls. So the flop comes down Jack 8-2. So Jack of clubs, 8 of spades, 2 of clubs. We hit our trips. There's a club draw out there. There are some hands that I anticipate calling here. His fold c-bets 59 when he's in position, 44 out of position. I think he could call gut shots. He could call overs at king queen. He could call any of the jacks, although there's only one jack out there. I think there's club draw. So I think there's definitely plenty of hands where he could call. If we check like we did, what's the chance that he's going to float? He floats 42%, and this is partly what I was going for. When I checked this, I saw he wasn't really, he's not like overly loose with the post-flop calls, but he is somewhat aggressive. If we check to him, he's going to be betting here. So my expectation was if I check, he's going to bet at least the flop, and then maybe on the turn as well if I check, and he's going to be betting fairly large. I think that is his strategy. So what kind of hands are we going to be checking? Well, I think we're checking our sets, and I would check our overpair as well. Our top pair, I think we're probably just going to go for some value with our ace jack. With the overcard, we're not so much worried about getting beat on the turn. If we have aces or kings, then it's going to be hard for another card to come that will beat that top pair. Whereas with my top pair of jacks, if I play with ace jack and the flop comes or the turn brings a queen or a king, it's possible that villain has a king queen king jack or queen jack type hand that now improves the two pair. So I think I'm going to be a little bit more protective on the top pair. I think I'm going to be betting these bottom pair, middle pair. I think flush draw, we're probably looking at betting most of these. I think exception, I think with our flush draw, some of our exceptions might be like our nut flush, where we're giving ourselves the opportunity to check raise, check call. That's kind of with our sets and overpairs, is that we're giving ourselves the ability to check raise if we get something big. And I could be way off base. And this isn't how we should play at all. Typically, I'd be betting ace king, ace queen. So I kind of think it's more like these, ace 9, ace 7, maybe ace 6 are hands that I would probably check. Maybe even ace 10. Those middle ones. I think the kings we're betting. If he folds, hey, that's great. If he doesn't, well, we still have a flush. But at least the ace 6, ace 7, ace 9, ace 10, we've got some hands where we could back into even gut shots. So now we have gut shot draws, and could we do the gut shot if we have a 9? Yeah, 10 could come, and then we could have like a 10 queen, and we back into it. Yep. So I think we have some of those. And you can see there's not going to be a huge number of hands that we're checking here, because I think we're going to be betting much more frequently, and then we also have some no mate hands that we're going to be no, probably not. We're probably betting all of those. 9-7 even has a gut shot. Yeah, I think we're probably betting all of those. So we've got a pretty narrow range. Villain bets as expected. I think he's probably going to be betting any of his pairs, any of his draws here. That includes our gut shots. Maybe even the 2-card backdoor flush draws. I mean, just with those pairs plus, I mean, including the bottom pairs, we're at 60%. Definitely, I think he's betting those, which gives us an opportunity to call. And I do think we're calling with all of these hands. We kind of set up somewhat of a slow play here to capitalize on his tendency to barrel to float, make that float bet. So I do call. Could I have raised? Yeah, definitely. I think we could have check raised this one pretty easily, and it kind of matches. And I think we should have check raised here. I think that was our plan. Not so much check call. I think it's check raise, and it helps protect our checking range on other hands when we're out of position. Definitely, our check raise would match. We got sets. That's a big hand. We've got overpair, queens, kings, aces. That's a big hand. And then we have some of our flush draws just as a... let's get those there. We probably don't have enough of our speculative hands here. So I do think we should be raising here. All right, 9 of club comes on the turn. So what do we do? So I do think that once we check the flop, I think we're checking the turn. And I think I screwed up by not check raising it. I really think we should have check raised it. And I think this is partly why. If I get called and I have that nut flush, we just hit it. So if he called us with the check raise, he's going to probably call us again. And he's probably won't think we have that nut flush. He's going to give us credit for trips, jacks and 8s, maybe 2s, and he's going to probably if we bet here, he's probably going to raise us. But since we checked, I think our best play is just to go ahead and check. So this is 9 of clubs comes out. I think here we are checking 100% here, and he bet. So he bet pot, and now he bets pot again, and that's a pretty darn big bet here. Let's check our turn. So he's betting 43% again. pretty aggressive. You can see his c-bet's pretty aggressive. He c-bets at 82%, then fires at 100%, and then on the river, he kind of steps it back. What is he going to be doing this with? Obviously, that 9 got there, so I don't think he's going to be doing this with top pair. I mean, maybe he does. I don't really have any other notes on him, what kind of ranges he's dealing with. He's got donk flops. I wish I have some, but I just kind of feel like this large size is at least 2 pair plus. Maybe he has a nut flush draw, maybe the second nut flush draw with like a pair, like king jack, ace jack. It's kind of like a combo, top pair with the flush draw. That's a possibility. Do I think he's got the open ender? I mean, he's going to have a pair with that. Would he really bet that large now that the club comes? And what is he putting me on? I mean, I check called, so if I check called, I could easily have something like a club. Just hit the club draw, and here he is betting into me again, and not even betting small. He's betting pretty large, so I think it's two pair sets, and I may be optimistic to say that he might have 2 pair set. Might even be optimistic to suggest he might have a straight. I think flush is looking more likely. I have a set. I think at this point we kind of have to give him credit. I don't think we can call with the overpair. I do think we call with the nut flush draw, probably second nut here. We're not going to like it, but I think that's what we're going to have to do. I think we call with set. I think we call with flush. I think our overpairs we dump unless we have the ace of club or the king of clubs. And I think that's basically it. I did call rivers to 5 of spades. We've been checking. All we can do is just basically check and decide what he's going to do. And he fires pot here. Fires all in, basically. We do have him covered. Now he's firing three times. Is he really going to be firing 3 times without the flush? I mean, the flush is obvious out there. There's a straight draw obvious out there. Queen 10 would get there. Could he have like a queen 10 with a queen of clubs? Yeah, he can. We've got trips. I think some people would call it a weak fold, but right now I'm just thinking, what is he doing this with? He called pre-flop, which I think queen 10's in there. I think clubs are in there. Yeah, I think clubs are in there. Then we checked and he bet pot, 3 pots in a row. I think it's looking like I mean, unless he's trying to get me to fold, which I think is notable, I think we're looking at a flush. I think we're looking at nut flush, maybe king high flush. Off chance that maybe he has the straight. Say 50% chance he has a straight. Should we call? No, I think we should probably fold, but I didn't. I called here. We see the showdown. He shows king 7, and he takes down this massive pot. So I think what it's going to be good to kind of take a note here that so 2 notes is pre-flop that he called. Let's see here. Low jacks, raise first in from button with king 7 clubs. All right, and then on the flop or post flop, we need to make sure that we have his sizing down, that he float bet pot on second nut flush draw. bet pot on turn and river with second nut flush. So just kind of the sizing that he was pretty darn strong. Yeah, I screwed this up. I think I'm gonna lose it if I check raise it, which I think is probably a good play. I think check raising the flop would have built up the pot, would have really challenged it. Maybe he folds, but I mean, do we really want him to fold? We definitely get that 7.5 big blinds there. We check raise it up to 21. If he calls, that's fine. The 9 of clubs hits. We would be leading. Actually probably not. We're probably going to be checking here and probably calling, and then if he bets on the river, we probably have to fold because it just makes it like he's having the flush. So all right, we'll end it here. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Lost a hand. This is one of those that I wish I could take it back. All the evidence was suggesting he's got that flush. And even though I have trips, I could have laid it down and saved myself 60 some big blinds. All right, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do, look tomorrow for another hand.